What is up, everyone, and welcome back to the Border City Kids Unsolved. I'm your host, Brian, and tonight we're stepping into one of the most haunting cases in American true crime history. A case that blends tragedy, deception, and decades of unanswered questions. A case that continues to divide experts and armchair detectives alike. On Christmas, 1996, a 6-year-old girl named JonBenet Ramsey was found dead in the basement of her family home. What followed was one of the most chaotic investigations ever recorded. It's a story that mixes forensic failure, media frenzy, and conflicting theories, and heartbreaking loss. Tonight, we're unpacking it all: the evidence, the suspects, the mistakes, and the theories. By the end of this episode, I'll ask you the same question investigators have been asking for 28 years. Who killed JonBenet Ramsey? JonBenet Ramsey was born August 6, 1990, to John and Patsy Ramsey. John was a wealthy businessman, and he was in the tech industry. Patsy was a former beauty queen, known for her charisma and her dedication to her children. The Ramsey household was picture perfect: $1 million home in Boulder, Colorado, a respected family, and a little girl who seemed to shine everywhere she went. JonBenet participated in children's pageants, something that later created controversy, but at the time it was simply part of the Ramsey lifestyle. To understand this case, we need to understand the family, not as the headlines, but as people. Their Christmas of 1996 was supposed to be a joyful one, but within hours, it would become a nightmare, and it's the nightmare that no one could have ever imagined. The Ramseys attended a Christmas party at a friend's home earlier in the evening. They returned home around 9 p.m. JonBenet fell asleep in the car, and John carried her upstairs to bed. Around midnight, the family went to sleep, and according to the official timeline, at some point before sunrise, JonBenet was murdered. At 5:52 a.m., Patsy Ramsey called 911. She found a 2.5-page ransom note on the stairs, claiming JonBenet had been kidnapped. The note demanded $118,000, an oddly specific amount that matched John Ramsey's bonus that year. The note was written in the home. This is where the case begins to unravel. Unusually long for a real abduction note, obviously, with the ransom note, written after JonBenet had been already killed. It mimicked lines from the popular films at the time. It contained phrases suggesting that there was familiarity with the Ramsey family. Handwriting analysis suggested that the note was not written by John and Patsy, though they tried to be ruled out, but conclusively they could not. The ransom note remains one of the strangest elements of the case. It feels like it was theatrical, it was scripted, and almost staged. But who staged it, and why? Police arrived quickly, but the investigation immediately fell apart. Officers allowed friends into the home. They didn't secure the crime scene. Evidence was trampled. Rooms were not isolated, and perhaps the largest mistake, Detective Linda Arndt asked John Ramsey and a friend to search the house. At 1:05 p.m., John opened a basement door and found JonBenet's body in a small room known as the wine cellar. She was bound, gagged, and had a cord around her neck. JonBenet had also suffered a skull fracture and a possible stun gun injury, though that remains debated. John carried her upstairs, contaminating the crime scene. That moment, John picking up his daughter, is one of the most controversial actions in the entire case. Was it grief or an attempt to control the narrative? Let's break down what the investigators found. According to the trauma injuries, there was a skull fracture, ligature marks on the wrists and neck. No full DNA profile was ever matched. Broken paintbrush handle from Patsy's art kit. A brutal and deliberate murder weapon. Here is another piece of interesting clues. JonBenet had a piece of undigested pineapple in her stomach. A bowl of pineapple was found in the kitchen with Patsy's and Burke's fingerprints on it. But Patsy claimed she didn't serve JonBenet food after the party. The pineapple detail was one of the most scrutinized pieces of evidence. Was JonBenet awake after they got home? Who gave it to her? And why did her parents insist that she was asleep? Let's dive into some of the theories. Each one has evidence, but each one also comes with serious problems. The first theory is the intruder theory. This theory suggests someone broke into the Ramsey's house and murdered JonBenet. The evidence supporting this: there was a broken basement window. There was unknown male DNA. There were signs of entry around the back of the house. And the Ramsey family had enemies, and John was very wealthy. Here are the problems with the theory. There were no footprints in the snow. This is still debated. There was no clear evidence of forced entry. The ransom note appears to be staged. An intruder would need time to write such a long note without being heard. If an intruder committed this crime, it required planning, precision, and remarkable luck. Theory number 2, family member theory, which is the ultimate cover-up scenario. Some believe the murder was accidental, with a family member trying to cover it up. The evidence supporting this theory: ransom note appears to be homemade. The pineapple bowl with fingerprints. Patsy and John gave conflicting statements. There was suspicious behavior after the discovery, which raised plenty of suspicions. Here's the problems with the theory. There was no motive. The DNA complicates things, and there's no history of abuse in the family. The level of violence seems extreme for just an accident. Theory number 3 is the Burke Ramsey theory. This theory exploded after the Dr. Phil interview and CBS documentary. It suggests that Burke may have struck JonBenet in an argument, possibly over the pineapple, and the parents covered it up. Supporting points for this theory: Burke was awake during the night. History of hitting JonBenet as a toddler. There had been some. The pineapple evidence, of course, and the ransom note as a cover-up. The only problems with this theory is there was no conclusive evidence. There was no documented behavioral issues before. And the age factor, he was only 9. This is one of the most controversial theories, and even resulted in lawsuits, but it remains part of the public conversation. Some of the investigative failures. The Boulder Police Department mishandled this case from the moment they stepped foot inside the house. Some of the major failures include not sealing the home, contaminating the crime scene, allowing the body to be moved. They delayed interviews, and there was politics between police and prosecutors. This case may have been solvable, if not for the human error. Some of the recent updates in the past decade include DNA technology that improved dramatically. The family is still pushing for independent testing. New documentaries continue to re-examine this case over and over, but no suspect has ever been charged. As for today, the murder remains unsolved. So, what do you believe? What do you think happened to JonBenet? It's your turn to weigh in. Do you believe the ransom note was staged? Does the pineapple detail point toward a family involvement? Or is it meaningless? Do you believe an intruder had enough time to commit this crime without being noticed, as well as write the ransom note? And who do you think killed JonBenet Ramsey? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Like I said, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and share the show, and tell me what case you want me to cover next. Thank you for joining me on tonight's conversation and investigation. This is Brian signing off from the Border Kids Unsolved. Stay curious, stay safe, and remember, some mysteries never stay buried. Good night.